Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Visual Arts Workshop. People is now entering in this online room. I will start by sharing some practical information. As you can see in the slide, you can activate the subtitles by clicking closed caption button on the control bar at the bottom of your screen. It's very important to know that you need to remain mute. So we will have at the end of the workshop some time for questions and answer, but please, for the sake of the good functioning of the workshop, mute your microphone. And if you want to speak, please raise your hand via the control panel on the right, and also use the chat to put your questions. Me as moderator, I will be facilitating the questions to our speaker, Jesus. So that's the practical information. Because we have new participants, I will repeat again, welcome to the Visual Art Workshops. My name is Carmen Arroyo, Development Manager at EASPD, and today we are going to be very active because we will have the workshop on visual arts with Jesus Placencia Porrero. Jesus is an art teacher, an artist himself, and also an architect. So art everywhere. Very important. For this workshop, you need to have paper and pens. So any kind of material, please bring your pens, your paper, and your imagination. It's also important to tell you that we would like to invite you to take pictures of your drawings. And you can either send them to me. I will put now my email address in the chat box, but you can also share them in the conference application, in the conference app. The instructions for these have been sent via the email, where you also have the link to connect. So I think that's all for the introduction. And now, because we are running a little bit late, like 10 minutes, so we will finish at 5 to 1. So now, Jesus, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. Great, so many people already. Hello, everybody. And thank you very, very much for attending this workshop. Thank you to the ESPD for inviting me to this challenge, especially now with this complicated moment. We have to do it online, but I've already done workshops online, and it's also great. We can also communicate ourselves. So the thing is, I don't want to talk very much theoretically, but just start drawing. Start drawing means for me, start expressing ourselves graphically. That's just the same as we express us with writing or with reading. Graphic expression is not just for artists. And of course, it's not just for ability or disability people. It's just for everybody. It's a way of expressing ourselves. Just as important as written language or read language, there is a vocabulary. We have to learn it, but it's not necessary to be an artist. And of course, there's absolutely, for me, absolutely no limits between ability or disability, gender, sex, culture, age, nothing at all. We can all express ourselves graphically, plastically. We can all be artists, and that's what I use this word of Andy Warhol, this phrase, we are all artists, and I do think we are. So let's see if we can be all artists. After only 40 minutes workshop, we'll have a brief introduction, but I think a substantial introduction. So what I'm asking you is just having some piece of paper, ideally A3, pen, a pencil, a normal pencil. This is a thick one so that you can see better. And then if you have around anything, pen, marker pen, colors, whatever you have, we will use all of it. So I told you, sometimes I'll put it here, sometimes I'll put it nearer so that you can see better. I tell you, the only thing we need is to know the vocabulary. Just like the ABC, then there is a vocabulary for graphical expression. And this vocabulary is very simple. Everybody knows how to use it because they are points, so dots, lines, and surfaces. That's our ABC. That's all. You need to know to make any kind of wonderful work of art or just to feeling like playing and expressing yourself. So let's start. And let's start with the beginning. So it's just a dot, a point. I would like you to, at the same time I'm drawing and speaking, I would love you to, draw at the same time. You just hear me, but at the same time, you can have a look at the screen, at my draw from time to time, but you could go on drawing at the same time with me. So let's start. And then let's start at the beginning, which is just, I told you, points, lines, surfaces. Well, let's start with the point. It's as simple as that. The thick black point. That's the beginning of everything. But then we will make several points. Just like that. And of course, just like using words, letters like A, B, C, we can do like A, or we can do like A, softer. It's the same. We can do thick points, and we can do, each time we can make it softer, 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 and we have that, which means we are already starting to use our hand, our pen, to express ourselves more roughly, more soft, so softer. And we can also, make it like more actively. Maybe there are kinds of little lines. It's a wonderful way of expressing ourselves. And we can, for instance, it depends many times on the mood. Maybe we are like very active, dramatic, even angry. Sometimes we can be like very soft, and we can make some kind of soft drawing just by dots and little lines. This is our language. And for instance, just like that, we can make the impression of rain. We do like this, all in the same direction, more or less, and with the same size. Well, it's like it's raining. We are artists. You don't have to be an artist or an official artist to paint rain, for instance. And then, next step, lines. Well, let's do some, let's say, normal line. And then we can do just the same, depending on our mood, on our own, what we want to express. We can make a harder line. Let's do 3, 4 harder lines. That's it. Just look. My lines are not perfect, so yours don't need to be perfect either. That's it. But then we can also do very soft lines, very soft lines. So we are expressing something very different. This is a kind of quiet landscape, just the lines. Of course, we can do a line which is harder at the beginning and then going softer in the end. We can go the other way around, harder at that beginning and softer in this end. So we can make different textures, which is exactly the same as expressing through speaking or even through writing, depends on the tone you're expressing, on the volume. It's just the same. And obviously, lines can be straight, or it can be like that, or it can be like that. It's just plain, all right? It can be like that when we are crossed and angry and we just see life like this. And of course, I will just use other papers when you need it, okay? And then we can, just with lines, also make different ways of expression. We can make rough lines and soft lines. Of course, we can make, for instance, stars. Let's cross. Let's cross. We can use words. For instance, I'm happy. Happy. And then I make like this, and it's clear that I'm happy. So this is just with pen and pencil, just with one pencil. We will use, if you, for instance, use color, whatever color you have around. I have these marker pens, and then of course, do like that. I will be even more happy. Different colors, you see? I am very happy now. And of course, next and last vocabulary we need to know are surfaces. All the thing is, reality is 3 dimensions, drawing is 2 dimensions, so that we have to learn the language of putting the 3 dimensions into the 2 dimensions of the paper. So next step will be the surface. We have just one line, the paper, the pencil. Of course, we will paint with brushes and so, but with one line, we can also make surfaces, just doing like that. Then we can cross, so it's smoother, so that we don't see the lines that much. And of course, we can start hard, and little by little we press the pencil less. So we have different textures. And of course, we can mix everything. We should mix everything. And then we can, on this surface, put a circle and make a star at the center. That's all we need to know. That's all every artist needs. Although, of course, after 1,000 drawings, you will work better. But the starting is just like that, nothing else. Yeah, I can see some. Let me show your drawings. So let me see your drawings, just like that. Great, 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 great. Show me, please. Just doing like that, so that we can see that we are already drawing. Great. Carmen and Constantina from the EASPD are also drawing, which makes me very happy. So that's all we need for starting. Let's make some pictures, which means for me, of course, let's make some work of it. And for that, I ask you to be absolutely free. Forget about whether you're a person with some kind of disability. I have a disability, a hearing disability. I use hearing aid. It's a problem, but it's also like, well, it doesn't mean I cannot draw, I cannot express myself. And it doesn't mean that, I mean, it helps you a lot to integrate ourselves with other people. So the way I'm showing now. So let's start just by playing. This is a serious game. It's like a children game. So it's playing, but it's playing seriously, which means I want you to concentrate very much. It's like a kind of, how do you call this? So all this concentration, all this meditation, all this mindfulness, which is about concentrating on the present. Forget what you can and what you cannot. Forget I cannot do it. Forget I don't dare to do it. Forget all that. Just play with like children. Great. Playing seriously. That's it. So let's start the way you want. I will start, for instance, with circles, because I want to make many circles. Just draw. Feel free to draw whatever you want. Just with circles. This is how I feel today. Bubbles. And then, of course, I can play with colors. I can make the intersection in different colors. We will see afterwards. I have some images I want you to show from the great artists. But we will see that this is what they're doing. It's just that, playing with points, lines, and surfaces. Of course, when color appears, it's like life is appearing, isn't it? Just like that. It could go on for hours and do hundreds of drawings. But for this short workshop, we can just play like that. And I want to put dots, points in sometimes. Then here I will make lines. So little by little, we actually have some kind of Miró, Joan Miró, the Spanish Catalan painter, Mallorca. So it's a kind of Miró. He also uses stars. Of course, we can make any kind. Oh, this is the cloud of imagination. We are all artists. Great, I'll give you 1 minute to go on with this, and then we show each other, one another, what we are doing. But you see, it's just enjoying. It's just forgetting fears and really playing like a child. When we are with our children, with a nephew, you know, we have so much to learn from kids. They are very free. Great. So please show me, please, how we are going with our works of art. Just show whatever you have. Great, great, great. Don't be shy. Just be as free as kids playing. There are rules. We have to concentrate on the working, but we're playing. Great. I will take another. Just show me, please. Yeah. Great. Just integrate. Great. Whatever you have, colors, marker pen, pencil, charcoal, whatever. Just feel free. When problems come for us to feel free to draw is when they tell us to draw something we see, which is a kind of border, barrier for our, supposedly, I mean, for our abilities. So if they say, well, just put a cup, an apple, and some flowers, just draw that. And it seems that that's very difficult. We cannot do it, but we will see that it's also as easy as other things we have done. So for instance, let's make a window. There's a square or rectangle. And I will show you how easy it is to, for instance, draw a landscape of mountains. We can start with a thick line of mountains. But then afterwards, if we do this softer, just like it happens in reality, and make another lines softer even, and then each time we have that impression of landscape, of mountains, mountains beyond mountains, just like that. And of course, we will use, to make the drawing richer, we will use surfaces. So let's start marking the first mountains harder. That's it. That's it. And then the second mountains a bit softer. Obviously, if you do it more carefully, it will be more exact, but that doesn't mind today. You see, and you can have the impression of a landscape with mountains. But then, of course, we can make a cornfield and points, just points, the foreground. You make bigger points in the very foreground, and you can make little points. So, and of course, we can put the tree in the foreground, just thick trunk, and this is a tree, and then we can put a tree here a bit smaller, because you know things are smaller. We see things smaller when they go far away. So this is a landscape with two trees. It's really, it is as simple as that. We can possibly make some kind of surface here so that we give an impression of something more homogenic. Haven't we done a wonderful landscape? Great. Show me what you're doing, please. Great, great, great. That's it. Great. And then just for another minute, just play with the surfaces, with the front, foreground surfaces. Try to make this of a little tree. You can also make like clouds in the sky. It's just line, dots, and surfaces, as I tell you. We have kind of learning the arts vocabulary in 30 minutes. But I'm sure you get the idea. We are not going to finish off being Picasso, but I'm sure you will feel what you need to develop your creative artist abilities in the work of visual arts. Let's do just another thing. For instance, we can make this transition for 2 dimensions to 3 dimensions. Let's do just a square. Or more or less a square. But then I'm sure you have done many times this. So all of a sudden, like by magic, the 2 dimensions become 3 dimensions, just like a photograph. It's a 2 dimension, but then you see 3 dimensions. You see like a TV screen or a mirror. And we can also do that in a cylinder, which is, for instance, like that. A poor cylinder, but a cylinder. I don't need it to be perfect. I need it to be expressive without fear. It doesn't come out perfect. The verticals are not verticals, whatever, doesn't matter. Just feel free. And we can even do a circle. And now with surfaces, which is what I want to get to, we can actually increase this impression of 3 dimensions. For instance, let's do each face, each side of the cube, a different that's it. So different darkness, lighter here, and even lighter in the front side. So we use the light to show the volume. You see? It gets a little bit more difficult, which is not really difficult. If we use that to make the volume in the cylinder. The cylinder, of course, is a cup of coffee. It will be a cup of coffee. And doing this gradation, and then, for instance, here the other way around from the center. Okay. You see now it starts looking like the coffee cup we had in the morning. And even more, this is just a poor 2 dimensions circle. But if you use those surfaces harder, and then I recommend to do these lines like in circles, we can also make it look like it's a ball. You see? I really tell you, have learned everything you need to do infinite drawings. And I tell you, this is the only things Goya and Picasso and whoever used to make wonderful drawings: dots, lines, and surfaces. And then all of a sudden, by magic, I do like that. And this is an orange, for instance. You see? I make it darker. But then when you see things in life, you never see just the form or just the person. You also see what is around. So if we imagine that now this cube, this cup, I'll put the, just imagine we do a line here. All right. And let's imagine this is a table. So we're really making a still life. Natura mort. So the first thing, things have light and shadow. So it's very practical for us that everything that is on the table has its own shadow. And that shadow should be always on the same side so that it's more realistic. We can do like that. And then this like that. And then the shadow of the orange. You see, we are really building a nice still life. And of course, we can say, well, the whole table has a certain color, which may be a kind of gray. Going step by step, you see, it's like really easy. If we see a wonderful work by any great artist, we say, well, I will never do that. But if you do that just step by step, it's just dots, lines, and surfaces. And then, for instance, just imagine I want to do some kind of texture at the end, because at the end, I just have these lines. For instance, isn't it a great drawing? I mean, it's not because it's my drawing, but I'm sure, and we will see now, you will have similar drawings. Show me, please, just for 1 second to see how it is going. Great, great. A bit of color appearing. Great, great, great. Absolutely great. I obviously go on with this for another minute. I can obviously say, well, orange is orange. And then we can make some color. And I want the cup being blue. We can put some color inside. I go beyond the lines. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be expressive. I have to see, what I only have to see when I do these workshops is that you are enjoying. Which seems to be the case. And of course I can put, I don't know, dots in the end. Hundreds of dots. Because what we have in the end is a cloth make of dots. So we have to see that. And then this can be a pink cube. Just putting the pink on the black. You see? Isn't it simple being an artist? Great. Okay, let's go on working for another minute. Just feel free to use whatever material, whatever. I have to talk a lot, but I love this minute silence so that you really can concentrate on the work. That's it, great. Absolutely great. So let me see what you're doing. Great, great, wonderful. Yeah. Great, great, great. So you see, just in like half an hour, we have learned to do an abstract painting, a landscape, a still life, just playing. Because we have forgotten, or I try you to forget, that I cannot do it, I don't dare. That's for artists, that's for people with special abilities, that's for elderly people, that's for kids, that's for everybody, absolutely universal. And to show you that this is absolutely universal, I want to show you now. I will share my screen. Yeah, let's see the last time the drawing you did, just to have a last quick look. Yeah, there's, and of course there's no limit between naturalistic, figurative, and abstract. So it's like you can see like just dots, lines, and surfaces. So I'll show you. I was telling you that graphic expression, visual arts is a universal language. And to prove that, I will share this screen. That's it. I will show you just some images in the history of art, but I would call it better in the history of graphic expression, because, for instance, this one, the first one, is this art? Well, of course, for us it is art, but this is cave paintings, maybe 20,000 years ago. And it's just with the hand. You put the hand, you put some charcoal around, and you put many hands, and you have this wonderful drawing. These people were not officially artists, but of course, they knew they needed to express themselves, and they knew how to. They learned how to. Another one, which is just carving on the stone, not drawing, but carving with a knife or whatever. This is kind of Capella Sistina of cave painting art. And you see, I brought that especially because you see this, when you go near, it's really like points, dots, and surfaces. Then sometimes an animal appears, but there's an abstract language, which is the one we have been using. Altamira, of course, when you draw 100 caves, the 101 goes better, of course. It's just practice. This is Aboriginal art, so art of the Aboriginal Australians, which is quite recent, like 100 years, 200 years, but it has that feeling of just drawing in a very schematic way. You know, the eyes are just circles, ochre color, 2-3 colors. Another one, Aboriginal painting. And we will see that in the 20th, 21st century, many people use that Aboriginal painting as inspiration. These are letters, you know, the Oriental languages, Chinese, Japanese, use that kind of letters, but in that tradition, the writer and the artist is the same person, because you have to write with some kind of particular sufficiency, with that control of the lines, so that there's really no limit between writing and art, we could say. And you can see that, you know, these universal examples. This is a Maya calendar from Mexico, from Central America. This is a Viking ruin. So you can see there's a snake in the stone, but then there are letters around. The letter is also a graphical form. Whenever we write, we should think that it's not just transmitting information, but also it's nice to write. Alhambra, Granada, how we use, in fact, things we have used, like circles, cubes, whatever, and then mix with some kind of plants of vegetation and writing. The disc of Festus in Greece, 2,500 years ago. The tree of life in the Mayan tradition, This is Santiago Ramón y Cajal, who is a Spanish scientist. He got the Nobel Prize, by the way. And he was not an artist, but this is really art. These are neurons, what we have inside our head, in our brain, but doing some things, some lines thicker and others softer, then you can see there's a kind of really plastic expression of what Ramón y Cajal wanted to tell. You don't have to, he was a scientist, of course. You don't have to be an artist to do a good drawing. Apollinaire playing with letters, with phrases. So in this case, he uses the lines to make like the wings of a pigeon. We already went from the cave paintings to the 20th century. Lorca, wonderful way of putting your name, Federico García Lorca, and see that the moon crying, for instance, they're just dots. The moon shadow at the right and lower corner is just points. What we have done half an hour ago. Joan Miró, who's putting some drawings in a Henry Miller book, playing with anything. We use points, dots, lines, surfaces, letters, stars. Paul Klee, the German Bauhaus teacher, using the pentagram, the musical pentagram, and then he's free, of course, to make an interpretation of music through graphicals. This is Georges Brassens, a photographer who did photographs of Paris, of the walls of Paris, of the graffitis that people did on the walls, just like you and me going to a wall, nobody's seen, and we made a heart, you know. This is art, of course. These are exquisite corpses. They did it in avant-garde times, so it is like 3 or 4 people drawing on the same drawing. Some people do the table on the front row, then other people do the perspective. So it's a game. The real artists also play. I mean, they do play, otherwise they don't have good time, and you see in the work. And then Pop and the Warhol, the one who said we are all artists. And this is Warhol and Jean-Michel Basquiat. By the way, this is one of the most expensive pictures ever bought in an auction, like 40 million euros or dollars. I won't comment about that, but what I will comment is that how they did enjoy. There's 2 people working on the same picture and then using whatever with freedom, which is the most important thing, and without fear, just playing. Another Warhol, Basquiat. Graffiti, we see that everywhere today. The Berlin Wall, fortunately, doesn't exist anymore, but it was a wonderful excuse to make a kilometric mural painting. Banksy, so interesting, all his work. And this is Matisse. Matisse, which is one of the greatest artists ever, especially in the 20th century. But when he was old, he couldn't draw, he wouldn't paint anymore. His hands were already, arthrosis or whatever. So what he did, instead, even in bed, he was drawing on the wall with this long cane. Of course, there were people helping, but there's no illness, there's no disability that avoids us from being able to express ourselves. And then also on his wheelchair, but just cutting papers, making collage, kind of like a child, just, okay, I cannot paint, but I can make collage. And look how wonderful works he did. For instance, these are cutting papers, put on the wall, nothing else. Everybody can do that. And this wonderful one, and this so simple one. It's wonderful, this work of Matisse when he couldn't officially work anymore as an artist. Picasso, also playing like a kid. These are just, napkins, rough paper drawings. This is when Picasso was maybe 60 years old. He was starting to draw like a child again, the way he wanted. This is again when Picasso is like 80 years old, already playing like a child and drawing so free. And then just last pictures of different artists of the 20th century, Jackson Pollock, just dripping. Sigmar Polke, a German who did for sure looked at the cave paintings for inspiration, the ones we saw at the beginning. More Sigmar Polke. Yves Klein, who paint with this blue, just putting a hand and playing with the color. Lucio Fontana, Italian, just making dots through the canvas. He went through the canvas. Jean Dubuffet, who was obviously inspired by cave paintings and graffitis and all that. Claes Oldenburg, playing recycling cardboard and black painting just to do this kind of street scene. You see this one? It's just cardboard and black painting, that's it. And he does these wonderful figures. Miro, the stars, the lines, the colors, wonderful work. Picabia, using also figurative portrait, but then mixing it with everything possible. The white dots on the shirt, for instance. This is Wilhelm de Kooning. De Kooning had Alzheimer at the end of his life, so he's lost his memory. But he went on painting, and actually, there's a big discussion in World of Art whether this is a masterpiece or just a work of somebody who lost his mind. Well, I really don't care about that. I love it. That's all. Rauschenberg, mixing everything, photocopies, colors. Paul Klee, just making this wonderful mural, this wonderful panel with dots, different colors, and so. That's it. So I will leave the screen. You see, just feel like absolutely as free as that, please. You've seen that many things the great artists do is actually very near to the work of the kids, of the children, the cave paintings. So just feel that free. And then now, for the end of these wonderful short workshops, I will ask you, now you're going to draw or you're going to create something. Of course, I'm here, but I want you to do whatever you want. Anything figurative, abstract, landscape, lines. So let's say 5 minutes. After 2 or 3 minutes, I will ask you please to show what you're doing. I can comment something. I will draw exactly like you. I'm not going to be a teacher now. I'm just going to be somebody playing with lines and colors, okay? So I feel I did before. Well, let's start. I feel like do it like that. Just go on whatever you want. I won't play much I speak much for the moment. I have to concentrate on my own drawing. Each point, each line is the most important thing you're doing in life in this present moment. You have a walk, you maybe walk like 3,000 meters, but you're enjoying each step. That's what I want you to do. Enjoying a kind of mindfulness moment, enjoy every dot. Hear the noise? That's great. That means we are on work. Great. We have still a couple of minutes, but let's see what you're doing just to know, just to have a look at it. Oh, great, 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 great. I'm sure Joan Miro would be very proud of you because you're just doing free, which is the most important thing, without fear, without prejudice. So just one more minute to just go absolutely crazy and paint whatever you want. As if you're playing with your kids and they are the masters. They are the ones who really know how to enjoy painting, which is the most important thing, always. So we will finish in some seconds. And I have done this work of art. Please show me your works of art. Wow, great. I see even some collage around. Great, great, absolutely great. Great, a view from the window. Wow, very nice. You see, great, 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 great. So, just leave the paper. I will leave my work of art here so that you can see that. I haven't played like, I would say, like an artist. I wanted not to play like an artist. I wanted to play like a human being who wants to express without thinking that I have to be an artist. I don't mind if you are officially or professionally artist. If you are, great. I hope it also was useful to you. But we really are our artists. That's what I want you to keep in your mind and never, never, never be afraid or don't dare because any kind of disability or any kind of nothing. I don't know who of those people in front of me, who all of you have a disability or not. That's not important. I don't mind. I mean, I've done so many workshops and I've learned so much from people with some disability who can express themselves so wonderfully. So this is the short workshop. And now maybe you have some questions. I couldn't have time to see all that. I will go to the chat.
Don't worry. So thank you very much, Jesus. I think we all have enjoyed a lot. Let's say this is a real workshop for a real conference. I would like not to give the opportunity to participants. If you have some questions for Jesus, please write it in the chat or let me know if you want to take the floor. We are, let's say, because we start a little bit later, we have still some more minutes, so don't be shy if you want to say something or show your paintings again. Remember to send them to me. You have my email address there. I think this is going to be the most beautiful conference report ever. Of course, I'm touching a sensible topic without copyright. Once, no, I'm joking. We will be only using them for the conference report. Perhaps I have a question for you, Jesus.
Yes, please.
Yes, I would like participants to know a little bit of exactly the work that you do. As far as I know, in your workshops, you put together always participants with disabilities and without disabilities. Can you maybe tell us what kind of bad stories and good stories, what kind of barriers you have confronted in doing this work? So let's say it's the world ready to be truly inclusive.
Yeah, the thing is, it's the way you approach. So if you approach that absolutely everybody can draw, you put no limits. And of course, I have to work and to prepare the workshops. But since I started with different cultural centers in basically Madrid, we propose that there's no limit, that there's no difference between workshops for people with abilities, so art, and workshop with people with disabilities. And I was intuitively sure that putting everything together would be much better, because people I've seen in all my workshops, people without any kind of official disability, many times have more fear, have more problems for expressing. So somebody, I don't know, Down syndrome, autism, whatever, maybe they are freer. They're more free to express themselves. They don't have those social background that tells you are not an artist. So, well, I can show you thousands of examples of drawings of people who, I mean, they just left us astonished how they could express themselves with much more freedom than people without official disability. So that's for the one point. And then also that the mixture makes people with disabilities feel themselves much more integrated, because they see their work is appreciated, not just by the teacher, of course, but by the other pupils. And so it's really, that's why I'm put the stress on mixing everybody, because society is mixed. Everything is mixed. I don't believe in those, workshops for like ghettos of people with this disability or with that disability. I think it's it's much more fun as well, but it's much more interesting for developing oneself and for being able to communicate, to mix people.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a beautiful message to finalize this workshop. Don't be afraid, and it doesn't need to be beautiful, just expressive. I take that especially with me in both my personal and professional life. I hope all the participants have also enjoyed, and now your imagination is flying away. I would like just to remind you that we have another very interesting panel this afternoon in the conference. You can join using the same link you used this morning, the general one for panels that has been sent. And also a reminder that this evening at 8 Brussels time, we would like to invite you also to an evening party panel, let's put it like that. There is a Korean dance session. So at 8, grab a drink, grab your family, and join us. We will be waiting for you. Thank you, Jesus. Gracias. Thank you, everyone.
I want to say really thank you, everybody, because
Thank
you
you as well.
you really concentrated on the work, and we had such an hour in this crazy world. It's like an oasis of drawing,
Very good.
forgetting everything. And
Thanks
please
a million.
enjoy with visual arts, because you have so much to enjoy.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And
Thank
good
you
luck
very
with
much.
everybody.